The Uber driver handed me $10,000 at a red light and said, "Tell them you never saw me." The stack of $100 bills landed in my lap while I was checking my phone, and I looked up to see the driver's eyes locked on mine in the rearview mirror. His hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles had gone white, and sweat was running down the sides of his face, despite the car's air conditioning being on full blast. "What the hell is this?" I asked, picking up the money like it might explode. The light was still red, and cars were lined up behind us on Montgomery Avenue, a typical Friday evening rush hour in the financial district. "Just take it," he said, his voice shaking. "When they ask you about me, about tonight, you tell them you never saw me. You got in this car, and it was empty. You drove yourself. Understand?" I didn't understand anything. I'd ordered an Uber to get home from my office building to my apartment across town, a 20-minute ride I'd done 100 times before. The app said, "My driver was Gerald, 4.8 stars, 7,000 rides completed. He'd picked me up 5 minutes ago. We'd exchanged the usual pleasantries about traffic and weather, and now he was handing me $10,000 and talking about people asking questions." The light turned green, and he accelerated through the intersection, but his eyes kept darting to the rearview mirror, checking the cars behind us with the kind of paranoia that made my stomach tight. "I think you've got me confused with someone else," I said, trying to hand the money back over the seat. "I'm just going home. I don't know what this is about." He didn't take the cash. Instead, he made a sudden right turn without signaling, cutting across 2 lanes of traffic and earning angry honks from at least 3 cars. I grabbed the door handle to steady myself, the money still clutched in my other hand. "You're not confused," Gerald said. "You're exactly who I need. Someone random, someone with no connection to any of this, someone who can say they never saw me and actually be believed." His voice had a desperate edge that reminded me of my brother right before his gambling debts had gotten so bad he'd tried to fake his own disappearance. That same quality of a man who'd run out of options and was making one last impossible play. "Look, I don't want to be involved in whatever this is," I said, my heart starting to pound harder. "Just take your money back and drop me off at the next corner. I'll get another ride." Gerald laughed, but it wasn't a sound that suggested anything was funny. "You're already involved. The moment you got in this car, you became part of this, and now your choice is simple. Take the money, tell them you never saw me, and walk away with $10,000 and no problems, or try to be a hero and end up destroyed." I looked at the money in my hands, then at the driver's reflection in the mirror. He was maybe 50 years old, graying hair, wearing a polo shirt and jeans, looking like every middle-aged guy who drove for Uber to supplement retirement income. Nothing about him screamed criminal or dangerous, but nothing about this situation made sense either. "Who's them?" I asked. "Who's going to ask me questions?" Gerald took another turn, this time into a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. The houses here were old Victorians with peeling paint and overgrown yards, the kind of area the city had forgotten about decades ago. "The police, probably," he said. "Maybe federal agents. Maybe people who are worse than either of those. Depends on how fast this moves and who figures out what first." He pulled over to the curb in front of an abandoned house with boarded-up windows and a yard full of dead grass. The engine was still running, but he twisted around in his seat to look at me directly for the first time since I'd gotten in. "3 hours ago, I picked up a passenger from the downtown Marriott. Businessman, expensive suit, leather briefcase, going to the airport. Normal fare, nothing unusual. Halfway there, he gets a phone call. Starts talking in a language I don't recognize, getting more and more agitated. Then he sees something out the window, a car following us maybe, and he completely panics. He tells me to pull over immediately. We're on the highway, but he's screaming, so I get off at the next exit. He jumps out, leaves his briefcase in my backseat, and runs into traffic. I'm sitting there confused, and then I see the car that was following us. Black SUV with tinted windows, and it doesn't follow the businessman. It follows me. Gerald's hands were shaking now, and I could see the fear in his eyes wasn't an act. I drive away fast, thinking maybe I'm being paranoid, but the SUV stays with me for 20 minutes. I finally lose them in a parking garage downtown, and that's when I open the briefcase because I need to figure out what's happening. He reached into the center console and pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos before turning the screen toward me. What I saw shocked me. Full story is linked below or on my channel.